All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into something that honestly just shook the entire world. The U.S. military strike in 2026 that ended with the capture of Venezuela's president.
So it all kicked off in the dead of night. Picture this. It's around 2 a.m., and suddenly the skies over northern Venezuela just light up with explosions. For folks on the ground, and really for the whole world watching, this was a shocking, sudden start to a military operation unlike anything we'd seen before.
But here's the thing. The confirmation? It didn't come through the usual channels, a press briefing or anything like that. No. Instead, at 5:21 in the morning, the U.S. president himself just drops this bombshell on social media. A huge strike was successful, and yeah, a sitting head of state was now in U.S. custody. Just wow.
So you can imagine, an event like this just raises so many questions, right? What exactly happened on the ground? How on earth did things get to this point? And maybe the biggest question of all, what does this mean for the rest of the world? Well, we're going to explore all of that.
All right, so let's get into the specifics of the strike on Caracas. It kicked off with a whole series of really precise, coordinated attacks. And the goal was clear. Hit these key locations in and around the capital to, essentially cut the head off the snake and neutralize the government's ability to fight back right from the very start.
And when you look at this list of targets, you can see just how surgical this was. Forte Tiuna, that's basically their Pentagon. La Carlota is a major airbase. Then you see they also hit communications antennas, and the objective just becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? This was a classic decapitation strike, designed to blind and confuse Venezuela's entire military command right out of the gate.
Okay, so a mission this complex, this risky, it's going to have an official code name. And it was carried out by the best of the best, some of America's most elite and secretive special operations forces.
And that code name was Operation Absolute Resolve. The name itself tells you pretty much everything you need to know, right? It just screams no turning back, no room for negotiation. This wasn't some warning shot. This was a mission with one final absolute goal: get Nicolás Maduro.
So how did it actually go down? Well, the capture followed that classic Special Forces playbook. You've got your insertion, your execution, and your extraction. The U.S. Army's elite Delta Force, they're the ones who carried out the raid. They grabbed Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, and then they were whisked away by air to the USS Iwo Jima, a U.S. warship waiting in the Caribbean. And officials later made it very clear, this was not improvised. This was an operation that had been in the works for months.
But, something this big doesn't just happen out of the blue. To really get why it happened, we have to rewind a bit and look at the road to intervention. And believe me, it was a road paved with over a year of rising tensions.
And this timeline, wow, it really lays out the escalation step by step. It all starts with a political crisis after that disputed 2024 election in Venezuela. Then you see the U.S. military buildup. After that, strikes on what they call drug trafficking vessels. By December of 2025, we're talking about a full-on naval quarantine. The U.S. is literally seizing oil tankers. And then, the final green light for the attack, it came just 24 hours before it all went down.
Okay, this next part is absolutely crucial if you want to understand the official U.S. position. The justification they gave was basically twofold: narco-terrorism and illegitimate rule. So by framing this as an operation to capture an indicted criminal and not an attack on a sovereign nation, the U.S. was trying to put its actions inside some kind of legal box. The argument was, hey, Maduro isn't a president, he's a fugitive. But any idea that this was just, a simple law enforcement action, that went out the window almost immediately. Because in the aftermath, President Trump revealed a much, much broader plan. America was now going to be running Venezuela.
Just listen to this statement. It marked a massive shift. The whole scope of the mission just exploded. We went from capturing one guy to running an entire country, even if they called it a transitional period.
And let's be real, you can't talk about Venezuela without talking about oil. It has the largest proven crude oil reserves on the planet. And the administration wasn't shy about this either. They openly said that U.S. companies would be brought in to get the country's failing oil infrastructure back on its feet.
So what about Nicolás Maduro himself? Well, his next stop wasn't going to be a presidential palace. Nope, it was going to be a U.S. federal courtroom. He's facing a whole list of serious charges, and his capture meant the U.S. could finally act on that massive, pre-existing $50 million bounty for information leading to his arrest.
Now, as you can imagine, an action this bold, it was guaranteed to split the world right down the middle. And the international reaction was immediate.
And boy, was it polarized. You can basically see the world split into three distinct camps here. First, you've got your staunch U.S. allies, and they were all for it, offering support. Then you have this powerful bloc, think China and Russia, and they absolutely condemn the move, calling it a blatant violation of international law. And then there's this third group, kind of in the middle, traditional Western allies like the EU and Canada. They were basically urging caution, calling for restraint, but not really taking a hard stance either way.
And that same exact split, it was mirrored right here inside the United States, breaking down pretty much along party lines. I mean, look at these quotes. On one side, you had many praising it as strong, decisive leadership. But on the other side, you had many condemning it as a straight-up illegal act of war. And that brought up this huge constitutional question. Can a president even do something like this without getting approval from Congress first?
So, when all is said and done, this whole operation leaves us with this one giant lingering question. What kind of precedent does this set when one country decides it can just go into another and capture its leader? I mean, it completely redraws the lines of international law and power, and that's a question that the entire world is going to be grappling with for a long, long time.